Kim Shipley is suing her ex-boyfriend, nurse Christopher Eccles, for bail money and for damage to her car. Christopher is countersuing, claiming Kim stabbed him.
All rise. This is case number 57 on the calendar in the matter of Shipley versus Eccles. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Shipley, you and the defendant were in a relationship, and it is your claim that he owes you for bail money. And then some time ago, he damaged your car, and he promised to pay you, and he never paid you for the damage he did to your car. The defendant says he never damaged your car. There was never an agreement to repay this bail money that he gave you, but he is counterclaiming because he says that during an altercation that the two of you had, you assaulted him. You stabbed him, and he wants to be compensated for the assault. Correct? Okay. When were you together in this relationship?
In 2002 to February of 2004. Off and on.
Did you ever live together?
Yes.
When?
We were living together in February of 2004.
How long had you been living together?
About a month at that time.
Okay. First, tell me about the damage to the car so that I can get rid of the small part of your claim. When was the damage to your car and under what circumstances?
His truck got stolen. And
when?
That was before Christmas of 2003. And he had asked me to move in with him because he no longer had a vehicle, and I was to drive him back and forth to work and his daughter back and forth to school and pick her up from school and watch her after school, all that.
So can we get to the damage to the car, please?
So anyways, sometimes I would let him drive the car, but he was not very skilled at driving a stick shift. So I told him, you know, that would be only in, like, emergency type situations. And he also drove my car after he had me put in jail. When...
Listen to me. I'm not interested in your relationship from the year of the flood. Okay. You tell that to your therapist. I want to know when he damaged your car, what date he damaged your car. Give me a date.
He damaged my car on February 29th when he drove my car when I was in jail.
February 29th, 03.
04.
04. How did he damage your car?
By shifting it without engaging the clutch properly.
Were you with him at the time?
No, I was in jail.
So, how do you know that he did that?
Because my witness knew that he drove my car.
Well, let's say he drove your car in February of 2004, and that subsequently something happened to your car, the transmission, something was damaged. What proof do you have that his driving the car was the proximate cause of the injury to your car?
Yes, I do, Your Honor, because he could not coordinate the clutch, the stick.
You weren't there.
But there were times previous to this that he drove my car.
Okay.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
About this. The night that she was incarcerated, she left the car at my house in the garage. Then her friend drove the car over to her ex-husband's house, who has been convicted of stealing her car.
Hey, listen, you tell that to your therapist, too. She has no proof that you damaged her car. So that
no proof. I didn't say anything.
Didn't see that in the complaint that there was any proof that you damaged the clutch of the car. So let's move on to the bail money. Let me hear the bail money. When?
On February 19th, he was arrested.
What year?
Of 2004, he was arrested at the Glendale Galleria.
Okay.
And he asked me to bail him out.
When?
On the night of February 19th of 2004.
Let me hear how that came about. Look at me.
I had the bail bondsman go in there and talk to him.
No. Listen to me. He's arrested 2/19/04. He's taken to jail. Did you go with him to jail?
No.
You went home?
No.
Where did you go?
To the Glendale Police Station.
And where did he go?
To the Glendale Police Station.
So you went with him to the police station?
Yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, madam. He's arrested in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't both get in the police car?
No.
From the mall, where did you go?
I went over to the police station.
Okay. And that's where they were holding him?
Mm-hmm.
What happened next?
I sent the bail bondsman in there to ask him if he wanted to be bailed out.
So that you did not speak to him, but you found a bail bondsman. Where did you find a bail bondsman?
Through the Yellow Pages.
So you went to the jail, and you must have spoken to somebody at the jail, police officer, sergeant, the desk sergeant. You spoke to somebody, no?
No.
You just went in there, and where did you get the Yellow Pages from?
I think it was on the counter.
At the police station. opened up the yellow pages, found the number of a bail bondsman, called a bail bondsman, and told the bail bondsman to go inside and speak to him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Your Honor.
And then what did you do?
And then the bail bondsman talked to me, called me on the phone. And
where were you?
I was in the car.
What car?
My vehicle. I was waiting outside the police department.
Okay. And you had a conversation with the bail bondsman?
Yes.
And then what did you do?
I called my credit card company.
And what did you advise your credit company to do?
To take the money out to bail him out.
How much?
$687 was the first amount.
You did that. And then where did you go?
I stayed and waited in the car.
Did you see Mr. Eccles that day?
Did I see him that day?
Yeah. After you got to the police station, after you had them pay out $687 through your credit card, did you see the defendant?
Yes, he was released, and I drove him home.
Okay. Now, did you pay any other money to the bail bondsman?
Yes.
When?
I think it was that night, because he wanted me to insure.
So you paid an additional sum to the bail bondsman later that evening after Mr. Eccles was released?
Yes, because Mr. Eccles promised he would pay it back.
Just a minute. How much did you pay after Mr. Eccles was released?
$1,913.
Okay. And you called in that evening, later, and you paid that by your credit card again?
Yes, Your Honor.
And where were you when you called your credit card company at that point?
I was at home.
And where was Mr. Eccles?
At home.
Now, what conversation did you have with Mr. Eccles with regard to this bail money?
Basically,
Not basically. What conversation did you have? You said to him, and he said to you. He comes out of jail. You've posted $687 with your credit card. He gets out of jail and says, "Hi, honey." What does he say?
He said he was not aware that he had 2 warrants out for his arrest, and that if they would have sent any kind of notification, it would have come to his old address where he lived, and that he intended to pay me back.
Okay, good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Eccles, owes for bail and car damages. Christopher says Kim attacked him with a butcher's knife.
It's your turn.
Okay.
Got arrested for 2 outstanding warrants. What were the warrants for?
One was for battery and one was a traffic citation.
Battery against whom?
Domestic violence against her.
Why didn't you respond?
That's just negligence on my part not responding.
Okay. And the other violation?
Was a traffic citation that I received.
That you also just...
No, that one came up warrant with the other one, with the other domestic violence, and they just added it on.
Well, because you didn't go to court when you were
Right,
supposed to.
exactly. I'm not denying that. But the point of what I'm making here is that I never asked her to bail me out. As a matter of fact, I couldn't have asked her to bail me out because in Glendale, you cannot make a long-distance phone call.
No, listen to me. She's very smart. She doesn't say that you asked her to bail you out. The first time she posted $687
Right.
towards the bail. She says that she had not had a conversation with you, but you were released at that point. Subsequently, she gave them $1,913, and at that point, she says, you agreed to pay her back.
Right, and I did not. As a matter of fact, as I was saying, I wasn't allowed to call from the police station because it won't make a long-distance call. But there was an incident, because I'm an RN, there was an incident that happened in the cell with someone who had a low blood sugar. I helped them out with the situation, and they allowed me to use their phone to call my work and tell them I wouldn't be there the next day, and to call her cell phone. On her cell phone, I told her, do not bail me out because I will just wait till Monday because I know how much the bail is going to be.
How much was the bail going to be?
It was going to be $60,000, and 10% of that would be $6,000 that we would just be throwing away. So that at that point, I knew I didn't want to be bailed out. It's Friday.
How did you know all that?
Because I knew what the warrants were for. Remember, I knew that I had warrants, and I knew when they picked me up what the warrants were for. So I knew how much they were for, okay? She was so distraught, and my daughter was in the car with her at the time. She had to get me out at that time.
I mean, your daughter was in the mall with you when
Yes.
you were arrested?
Yes, okay?
How much did you put up for bail?
I put up $2,400. She put up $26,000, and I put up $24,000.
When did you put up the 24?
I had a credit card also.
When, Mr. Eccles, did you put up the 24? What day?
Same day. That
Friday.
Same day. Yes.
So, Mr. Eccles, let me tell you, sir, why I don't buy your story.
Okay.
Because you have just told me that you told her, do not bail me out.
Right.
I want to wait until Monday. And then, on Friday, you put up $2,400. They took it out of your credit card.
Right.
Now, if you wanted to wait until Monday, sir, and you didn't want to be bailed out because you didn't want to waste the money,
right,
how come you put up $2,400?
Because it was half as much. Plus, it was not even half as much. It was less than half as much because it was originally $6,000, and he cut $1,000 off because she was distraught. So it came out to a total of $5,000.
What I'm asking you, sir, is if what you said was you didn't want to get bailed out, how come you spent $2,400 on Friday? So you wouldn't spend the weekend in jail? How come?
Because
you didn't want to,
I was willing to pay.
Because you were getting a bargain. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Because you were getting a bargain?
Right.
Right?
But
pay her the money. Pay her. Put your hand down.
I'm sorry.
Did you just lose? No. So you decided, well, I wasn't going to pay anything, but if all I have to pay is $2,400, and if that idiot wants to pay $2,600, I might as well get out? Why don't you save your $2,400? You have a lot of money?
I do, Your Honor.
You do? Good. Pay it. $2,600. Now let's get to your counterclaim. You have a counterclaim because you say that Miss Shipley assaulted you with a knife. She got very angry. She assaulted you with a knife. When did she assault you with a knife? What date?
On 2/29 of 04. Here's the police report.
Just a second. Just a second. Tell me what happened.
We were arguing specifically about me not giving her keys because I was having her leave the house. It was my house. And also because I wouldn't agree to sign a paper to pay the bail. Okay? So she got very angry with me. We were standing in the kitchen, and previously the police had come out also because we had been in an argument.
Who called them?
She did. Okay.
So she called the police first on that day, 2/29.
Yes, she did.
Right now, at this point, you're sorry you bailed him out.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Essentially because she wouldn't have anywhere to live. But anyway, she called the police because she was trying to get me in trouble. She smashed a bottle of wine on the table. She said that she was going to say I smashed a bottle of wine and that I was assaulting her. I convinced her, look, you're the one that has the wine stains on you. I don't have wine on me. That's not going to work. She became very angry, picked up 2 knives, which I have pictures of right here. One is 20-inch and one is 12 inches. They're butcher knives, and they're very sharp.
Right.
Okay, I have them right here.
I see them. They're big knives.
Okay. She then proceeded to chase me around the house with the knives, and then as she got closer, she was able to cut me.
Where did she cut you, sir?
On my right tricep.
Did you receive any medical treatment?
On the scene from paramedics.
What kind of treatment?
They put a island dressing on it, and they told me that I should go to the emergency room and have it stitched up.
Did you have it stitched up?
I had it stitched up by a friend of mine who works in the OR. She came over and stitched it up for me.
Okay. How many stitches did it take?
3.
Let me read.
On page 3, line 18, that's when they were questioning her. She walked away from the detectives, and then they had to detain her by handcuffing her because she wouldn't cooperate.
Okay. You were arrested. Is that correct?
And released. I was only detained.
You were arrested. Is that correct?
Yes.
For assault with a deadly weapon. Is that correct? Yes.
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 Mutual combat.
Okay. You were arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, not mutual combat. That's what you were arrested for, Ms. Shipley.
Okay.
That's what I just read. That's the police report.
I never saw that report.
Well, that's what the police report said. You were arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. You want to tell me what happened on the 29th with regard to the 2 knives? And then I want you to understand that I have what you told the police immediately following the incident. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From the police report. Not what he says, what you said to the police. So why don't you tell me what happened with the 2 knives on the 29th?
He had been harassing me all day, and I had called the police out prior to that. I wanted to leave to go to my girlfriend's house.
Well, when the police came out, why didn't you leave with them?
Because the police told me that I had just as much of right to be there as he did.
Well, that doesn't answer my question, Ms. Shipley. You just told me that you wanted to leave to go to your girlfriend's house, and if you called the police, and the police came out, why didn't you say, I want to leave to go to my girlfriend's house, which is what you said you wanted to do?
Oh, my girlfriend...
Why don't you just leave?
Oh, my girlfriend wasn't home yet.
No. No. It doesn't make sense. If you're afraid of him and you want to leave, and you call the police, and the police come out, and you say, I just want to get out of here because I'm afraid of him, then you leave with the police. So let's get it together. What happened with the knives?
Okay, I was in the kitchen. I had made dinner. I was washing the knife that I had cut the chicken up with. I was doing the dishes, and he ran up behind me and grabbed my wrist that I had the knife with, and we were, you know, fighting with this knife, and he got cut.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
Behave yourself.
Okay.
I don't buy it. Miss Shipley, you got angry and you cut him with a knife. And I don't buy what happened is he came up from behind you and over a little scuffle after you were cleaning the kitchen from dinner that he just happened to get cut. You had had a fight. I assume that you were having some kind of an altercation with regard to this bail money. You had already posted bail for him in the amount of $2,600, and you wanted him to give you back the money, and he says, I'm not giving you back the money. Is that what you were arguing about?
Basically.
Okay. So you had a right to be angry when he said, I'm not giving you back the money, if that's what he said to you, right?
Well, it went a little deeper than that, but...
May have, and I'm sure it probably did. I'm sure you have a long and violent history with each other, but that's your history with each other. If he was violent with you in 2002, what you're doing with him in 2004 is absolutely beyond me. You understand? Okay.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Good, but you have no right to cut him.
I didn't cut him.
You did cut him. You told the police officer you cut him. The police officer saw the knife mark. He was treated at the scene. You can't do that. As angry as you get, you can't do that. And you had an opportunity to leave. Because according to you, things got so out of hand that you called the police once on the 29th. They came out to the house. That was the perfect opportunity. Put your hand down for you to leave. Then you say to me, well, the police told me I didn't have to leave because I had just as much right to be there as he did. It's not an answer. If you're afraid, then you leave. And you don't say, my girlfriend wasn't home. You go to her door and you wait for her to come home, right? Anyway, I do believe that the $2,600 was something that he promised to repay, and I do believe that you did, in fact, cut him. And that cut's going to cost you $1,000. So I am taking that $1,000 off of your $2,600 that I believe he owes you for bail, and I'm entering a judgment in your favor in the amount of $1,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaim is resolved. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think it was totally fair.
I think it was fair.
He just has other motives,
I never agreed to make any kind of payment to her.
violent motives.
She's the one that's violent.
He pled guilty to the assault charges,
She's the one that was actually admitted into
and that's why he's on 3 years probation.
anger management program that she had to go through for a year.
I don't want any more violent relationship.
36-year-old master control operator Josh Ashcroft is suing his ex-fiancée, property manager Julie Skiles, for unpaid rent and bills. Julie is countersuing, claiming Josh stole her dog and rammed her Toyota MR2.
Yes.
Mr. Ashcroft, you and the defendant were engaged and living together. She moved out with 3 months left to go on a lease that I assumed the two of you had signed together.
That is correct.
You want her to pay those 3 months' rent. The defendant says that your behavior forced her out of the apartment, and she is counterclaiming for damage that she says that you did to her truck, a whole bunch of money because she says you've been harassing her, and something about a dog. So let's start with when you moved in together and when you signed the lease.
Okay, like you said, we were engaged. We decided to both move in on a house.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a quick learn. I asked a question. When did you sign the lease? That requires a date,
Yes,
not a
ma'am.
story.
We signed it in September of 2003, September 28th.
And when did you move in?
We moved in October 1st, I believe. Just a few
You have
days.
a copy of the lease?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. And what was your agreement with regard to paying for the expenses on this apartment?
We had came to a mutual agreement that we would both pay half.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were supposed to live there?
Me and Julie were the only ones that were living in the house at the time when we first
And
met.
your dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Monthly rent was $900.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you moved out when?
About June 15th.
Is that about right?
It sounds about right. I have the 25th. Wasn't very clear because she did not tell me when she was moving out. She had no intention. I did not have any information of her intention of moving out.
Sir. When did you wake up and find she wasn't there? What date?
Actually, I believe it was the 25th on a Friday when I came home for work and discovered that everything out of the house was gone.
Are you telling me that between the 15th and the 25th she was living there?
She...
Is not an answer.
No, ma'am, I don't believe she was. She would come home when I was at work and get her things and stuff.
I want to know when she moved out. The 15th or the 25th. Physically, her body, her person, not her property, her person. When did she move out?
I would say the 25th, Your Honor.
Who are you?
I'm his brother.
You have a name?
Jason Ashcroft, ma'am.
When did you move into the apartment?
I moved in around March, end of March, April.
So you were living in the apartment when they were living there. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much rent were you paying?
I was paying $350 a month.
You still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what are we doing here? Shh, shh, shh. See, it's nice to have a nice, honest brother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She moved out June 15th. She moved out June 25th. What difference does it make? Your brother's living there. He's taking over the other part of the rent. So why are you suing her?
Well, because of the fact that there was no 30-day notice given. She was unemployed for 9 months, which meant that I needed to move in someone to help cover her part of the rent.
He moved in before, according to your brother. Is your brother lying? Your brother moved in, it says, in March. She moved out in June. March, April, May, June. That is right, isn't it?
I just needed someone to help cover the rent. I didn't want to be in default on my lease, so I had to move my brother in and help.
Good. And you did that. That's a good thing. So you're not out any money. So I don't know why you're bothering me, Mr. Ashcroft. You want to get to your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Actually,
you gave the right answer, truthful answer. See how fast we resolve this?
Yes,
Plus, your
ma'am.
brother probably will want to take you outside and kill you with it. That's not my problem. Let's deal with your counterclaim.
Okay.
Let's deal with your counterclaim, unless you want to say, listen, I don't want to get involved with this lady. I don't want to deal with her.
Oh, no.
Okay.
On June 15th, the day I moved out, he came home and rammed my car out the driveway with his truck.
Why did he do that?
Why did he do that?
Yeah.
You'll have to ask him.
No.
He wanted me to move my car, and I apparently didn't
Listen
do it
to
fast
me.
enough.
Listen to me. I want you to understand something. I'm not your friend. You have a whole host of friends. Are you related to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you her father?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Your father is your friend. You have friends. I'm not your friend. So when I say to you, why did he ram your car with his truck, there was a reason. The reason was he wanted you to move your car, and you weren't moving it fast enough.
Correct.
And you were having an argument with him.
Correct.
All right, there you go. You see? You've been around the block a few times, and you understand things, so that he didn't just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to ram her car with
No.
my truck.
We were arguing. He had asked me at that time, told me that I needed to leave to move out of the house. Then he went to leave, and my car was parked behind him.
How many times did he ask you to move your car?
One time, and then he went to his truck. I was getting my keys, heard his truck back out into my car, and he moved it himself.
Now, what happened with her car, sir?
I asked her repeatedly to move her car.
And what did she say to you?
She didn't say anything. There was no communication there whatsoever.
So she just ignored you?
Yes, ma'am. She ignored
and
me.
just take your hands out of your pocket?
Yes, ma'am.
So, you asked her, you said, move your car, things are getting too hot.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was giving you the old passive-aggressive. She wasn't moving, she wasn't getting the keys, she wasn't getting this, So, you got into your car, and what did you do? Your truck.
She was parked a few feet behind my truck. As I was trying to get out, I tried to maneuver my truck to get out, and I accidentally hit her car.
Okay, so you understand that you have to fix that.
Yes, ma'am.
You have an estimate?
Yes.
What's the estimate?
I have two, both for $700, 1702, 1703.
Okay, $700. When you have a bad temper, that's what happens. What else?
Also, I would like to add his harassment. Also on that day when he came home, he kicked in the bathroom door, pushed me against the wall, told me to leave. He calls my work, continuously harassing me.
What is he asking you for at work?
For money and
for money. Well, he's not going to
And stolen property, Your Honor.
For a frying pan.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
A frying pan and a
Take your hands out of your pockets. This claim that you filed here has nothing to do with property. It had to do with rent. Now you're not going to call her anymore for money.
Excuse me, ma'am?
You're not going to call her anymore for money. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
You've litigated it, and you lost. We're just dealing now with her counterclaim. So don't bother her anymore. And your brother is going to tell you that he thinks that's a real good idea, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Ashcroft says ex-fiancée Julie Skiles broke their apartment lease. Julie says Josh's behavior forced her out of the home.
Now, he's not going to harass you anymore. Now, you want to tell me this story about the dog that you didn't get. What kind of a dog is it?
It's a boxer. And when we first split up, I was going to get the dog. He was going to give it to me. But then after the arguing and all that, he decided that he was going to keep the dog. I purchased the dog. He can keep it. That's fine. But I would like my money or the dog.
Did you have the receipt for that?
Shh, shh, don't take your hands out of your pocket. How long have you had the dog?
July of 2003, a little over a year.
And where are you living now?
I live in an apartment now.
And where do you live?
I live in the same residence, a three-bedroom house.
And the dog has a yard?
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that the dog is better off with him?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why you left the dog. So,
correct.
What do you want?
I want him to pay me the cash I paid for the dog.
You can't get that.
Okay. And I can't get the dog either.
Of course.
No, the dog is happy where the dog is.
It's in the dog's well-being, I agree.
Take your hand out of your
Yeah, it's a
pockets and don't
dog's world
speak
over
until
here.
you're spoken to, Mr. Ashcroft. So far, you don't get any money for him harassing you. He's not going to bother you anymore. You made him pretty mad if he hit your car with his truck. I don't know what the argument was about, nor do I care, quite frankly. I got enough to worry about my own arguments. He owes you $700 for the damage he did to your truck, because he did that because he was angry. And when you have a bad temper, you have to pay for that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So your counterclaim in the amount of $4,150 for harassment, the dog, and the kitchen sink is resolved this way. He pays you $700 to get your car fixed. And you, instead of having this lovely damsel as a roommate, have your brother. Good luck to you both.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He was contractually obligated to pay the rent, the 12-month lease agreement that we both signed.
I don't owe him for rent. His brother is paying the rent.
The judge made a correct decision in leaving the dog where he belongs, and that's in the backyard of the house, not cramped up in some one-bedroom apartment.
I do think it's better for the dog.
I'm just glad it's all over with.
No more relationships for me.
And now the next case.
All parties are...
James Frederick is suing his girlfriend's ex, security officer David Abbasi, for breaking his ankle during a fight. David says James attacked him.
Now, this is case number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Frederick versus Abbasi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Frederick, the defendant is your girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, and it is your claim that you both found yourself at the same bar and that Mr. Abbasi assaulted you at the bar, causing you to fracture your ankle. You want him to pay all of your expenses relative to that assault and also some punitive damages. Mr. Abbasi says that you were the aggressor that night. He didn't see you injure yourself, and if it wasn't for your aggressive behavior, none of this would have happened. That's your defense. Is that right?
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
The night of February 7th, approximately 10:30.
And what was the name of the establishment that you were visiting?
The Horseshoe Pub.
What time did you arrive there?
Approximately 10 o'clock, I believe.
When you got there, was the defendant there?
Yes, I did know who he was. I'd never met him before that time.
Had you been to this bar before?
Yes, not very much. I don't go out to bars very often.
What prompted you to go there this evening?
Just to get out for a little while. I was supposed to meet my girlfriend there a little later.
Well, did you meet her there?
Yes, she came in probably about an hour later.
Before she arrived, you didn't know who this gentleman was?
Right.
When your girlfriend arrived, she advised you who this was?
Yes, once she saw him.
And you didn't know who he was, sir, when he arrived there. Is that right?
I didn't.
How long has this young lady been your girlfriend? Or how long had she been your girlfriend on February 7th?
For 4 months, approximately.
How long had you been separated from her?
About 3 months.
You mean there was a month overlap?
Yeah, I believe they were 3 months in the relationship, not 4 months.
Did she leave you for him?
Yeah.
How long had you been together?
About a year and a half.
Were you upset?
Yeah.
Had you lived together?
Yeah.
So she left you
She was cheating on me.
with him
Yeah.
and left the home that you shared to move in with you?
Yes. She wasn't cheating, Your Honor.
But she moved in with you immediately after she left him?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, so tell me what happened.
Well, on that night...
After your girlfriend arrived. We're at the point where your girlfriend arrived at the bar.
Okay. After she arrived, I noticed, well, she had told me who Mr. Abbasi was. At that point, then, I acknowledged him.
How did you acknowledge him?
Well, after my girlfriend had told me who he was.
How did you acknowledge him, is my question. Did you shake his hand? Did you go over and say, hello, I'd like to introduce myself? How did you acknowledge him?
No, nothing like that.
Just tell me how you acknowledged him.
I just looked at him. That was it.
Okay.
After that, I didn't say anything, didn't do anything. She wanted to leave, which I probably should have taken her.
That was very smart of her.
Yes, it was.
She said, he's here and I want to leave.
Yes.
And you said...
I wanted to stick or I wanted to stay.
Me?
I should have went with her, decision. Afterwards, probably, I'd say 15, 20 minutes afterwards, Mr. Abbasi just started to look my way, and at both Lucy and I, and adjacent to him was a lady, and he was more or less smiling, laughing, pointing at us, and I just wanted to know what was going on. So I more or less shrugged my hands up. And
How
that's
far
when,
were you from him when you did that?
Maybe 20 feet.
It's not far.
Not very far, right. After that, basically, he got up in anger. At that point, he started really prancing or almost running towards me on the other side of the bar. And I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't know if he wanted to fight. I didn't know if he wanted to talk. So I got up and I met him halfway through the bar. At that point, I lost him in the crowd. There were a lot of people there. And after that, he shoved me after he saw me, and I didn't know where he was. I fell back into the crowd, and I tried to regain my balance. And after I tried to regain my balance, he shoved me again. This time, I fell backwards in an awkward way and broke my ankle.
Now, your version of the events, Mr. Abbasi.
He waved me over to fight.
Show me how he did that.
By putting his hands over like
He
that.
went like that.
Yeah, calling me, saying he's going to kick my butt. We met simultaneously.
I don't want you to make things up as you're going along, Mr.
I'm not.
Abbasi. Listen to
I'm
me.
not.
Are you telling me from across the bar you heard him say something to you?
No.
Or you're just showing me this?
I heard him say he's going to kick my butt and wave me over. And then...
And what did you do?
We both simultaneously...
No. So he waved you over to come over because he wanted to fight with you.
Yeah.
And you being the intelligent, sober guy that you are...
I wasn't sober.
Oh, you weren't? Well, that accounts for something. So you were drunk.
Yeah.
So he waved you over, and you went over to fight with him.
Well, I was just thinking we were going to stick chests and try and talk it down, but then when I seen his fist come in, I had to push him.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
No, I don't want to hear you.
I'm sorry.
So continue. Let's keep going. So you got over there. He's waving you on, saying he's going to kick your butt. You go over there to butt chests with him because that's all you thought he was going to do. You saw him fist up his hand, and so you pushed him.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how he hurt his ankle. If he hurt his ankle at all.
He claims that my shove threw him 10 feet across the room into a pool table, causing his ankle to break in 3 spots.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. James Frederick says he was attacked by his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, David Abbasi. David says James instigated the fight.
Now I'll hear you. Step up. Who are you?
I'm the bartender that night.
Let me ask you this. What's your last name?
Banks.
Miss Banks, you know Mr. Abbasi and his girlfriend. Is that right?
Yes.
And how long have you seen Mr. Frederick in the
I
bar?
only had seen him that one night.
Where do you come from?
Palmdale.
And this bar is in Palmdale?
Yes.
How many bars are there in Palmdale?
4 or 5.
Mr. Frederick, what prompted you to go to that bar this evening? Because you went there by yourself, and you were meeting Lucy there, right?
Yes.
But Lucy was the one who suggested the Horseshoe Club?
Actually, I was.
Really? And Lucy didn't say to you, no, I don't want to go there because I used to go there with David?
Well, that was brought up, but I reassured her it was all right.
You're a troublemaker.
I didn't see any problem. I didn't know David.
You didn't see any problem? Mr. Frederick, if you weren't looking for trouble for one reason or another, sir, you wouldn't have gone to the bar if she gave you prior notice that this is a place where David would hang out. And when she arrived and she saw him there and she said to you, let's go, I feel uncomfortable. And you said, not me, I'm not going anywhere. I want to sit here. So despite the fact that she was uncomfortable and that the presence of the two of you was just an exacerbating circumstance, you decided to stay. Now, I'm not sure about on a legal level, but on a moral level, you got what you deserved. You look for trouble, it's going to find you. You know, there's certain things your grandmother says to you that are true. And one of them is, if you look for trouble, you're going to find it. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you visit your troubles on me and the taxpayer. Because this process cost money. And because you decided to be a macho jerk, you cost the taxpayer money. Whether it's in this court and any other court. You're gobbling up court time for people who really have cases over which they had no control. You had plenty of control. I didn't go to another one of the 4 bars in Palmdale. Or when you went in there and you saw him there, you knew who he was, and Lucy said, let's go. You got up, paid for the drink, and you leave. Right?
Right. That's what my plan was, but I didn't take fast enough action.
Okay. Did you file a police complaint, Mr. Frederick?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it, please.
I filed that the day after.
Why the day after, sir?
I was going to file it at the bar, and had I done so, he would have been incarcerated. I wanted to take care of my ankle. It was hurting and it was broken. So
you went immediately from the bar to the emergency room?
Yes.
Okay. Well, evidently they did an investigation, and they didn't arrest Mr. Abbasi for assault. Do you know why, sir?
Basically, they couldn't find him, and DA didn't want to prosecute because it's a typical bar fight. They see it a lot, so they didn't feel it was
because it's just as possible that you lost your balance because you were drunk.
I wasn't that drunk, Your Honor.
How do I know that? You don't have to be that drunk to trip. Mr. Frederick, I said something to you before, sir, and what I said, you may sit down. What I said to you before is if you look for trouble, you're going to find it. Now, I don't necessarily think that it was Mr. Abbasi's intention to get into a confrontation with you that evening, but it is clear to me that it was your intention to get into a confrontation with him. I say that for the following reasons. I am now summing up. Your girlfriend told you that she was going to meet you that evening. You discussed going to the Horseshoe Bar. She said, I don't think I want to go to the Horseshoe Bar because that's where David hangs out. You said, I don't care, I'll meet you there, it'll be ridiculous. You go there, and sure enough, when she shows up an hour later, after you've had a couple of drinks, she says to you, I don't want to stay because David's at the other side of the bar. And you say, I don't care. Let's see what goes down if we stay here. It seemed to me, Mr. Frederick, you got the girl. You should be a happy guy. You shouldn't be looking for trouble. The girl that you're living with, the girl that you're happy with says, I'm not comfortable here. You pick yourself up and you leave. Chose not to do that. He pushed you. You fell. You broke your ankle. That's an accident. Goodbye.
Parties are excused and they step out.
The man's got issues where he can't get over his ex-girlfriend.
He wanted to show me he has her.
I didn't think he was, a violent guy.
She wants to see us fighting over each other.
He was lucky he got away with this.
I'm just glad justice is done.
And now the next case.
Your Honor, this is case number 230 on the calendar. Bear with me. In the matter of Greco-Reese versus Haspatka.
Who's Haspatka?
Me.
Good. Go.
Heinlein, Hamilton, and Archulewski. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
You see, when you're in charge, you could take certain license. So let me show you what I'm going to do. That's
Okay.
Mr. A, B, C, and D.
I wish I could have done that.
Where is your rental property?
I'm sorry, Omaha, Nebraska.
And you rent this house to college students.
Well, I just rent it. It just happens to be college students that always...
You've rented to college students before,
yeah.
so you rent to college students.
Yeah.
You have any dislike for this property? You hate this property?
This is the first time I've ever had any trouble.
Did you always rent to girls in the past?
No.
You rented to boys?
Mm-hmm.
Never had any trouble?
No.
Miraculous. How big is this house that you rented, Mr. Ray?
It's a split entry, 4-bedroom. I don't know the square footage.
And what was the rent on the house?
I believe it was $950, split 4 ways.
And when did you start your lease?
August 1st, 2003.
Name of the university you attended?
University of Nebraska at Omaha.
What year are you in?
4th year, senior.
Senior as well.
Senior. Senior.
Raise your hand if you're a good golfer.
Is that anybody in here?
No, just you. All right, Mr. Reese, this is the situation. According to your complaint, these 4 young slobs destroyed your house, and in addition to leaving the place a mess, they decided to play golf off the roof of your house at some point and cause substantial damage to your roof.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want them to pay for the repairs.
Yes.
The boys say they didn't have a chance to clean up because you changed the locks on the house, which must have been the month of July, right?
Correct.
End of July, yeah.
End of July.
End of mid-July, right?
Yeah.
Well, end of mid-July.
End to mid-July.
I don't remember the
sorry.
exact date. Sometime after the 20th of July.
So the end of July, she changed the locks.
Yes.
Why do you think she changed the locks, gentlemen?
I don't know. She claims that we abandoned the house, but we did not. We still had property in there.
Did you pay July's rent?
No.
Well, just a minute. Mr. D says yes. You say no. Mr. D, did you pay July's rent?
The security deposit, she took that as last month's rent, is what she told us. She said we didn't have to pay last month's rent. She would keep the security deposit.
Why would anybody in their right mind say that until they had inspected the house?
Good question.
No,
Who
we
did
have no
she
idea.
say that to?
On the phone. On July 19th, the day rent was due.
July 19th. And what did you say?
She called me. I was in bed. She woke me up, and she said she was talking about rent due today, and I said, yeah, I know. I'm going to bring it down later. And she said, but if you guys, don't pay it, I'll just keep the security deposit as last month's rent.
Is that what you told him?
No, ma'am. There was so much damage in the house that I could have used another 2 months' rent to fix what I fixed in that house.
Listen, Mr. Ray, maybe it's just that you were groggy.
No.
Because what you just told me was that you said to your landlord, I'm going to bring the rent down later on today, and she said, nah, forget it.
She didn't say, nah, forget it. But she left me with the understanding that
Oh, well, that's different.
If we did not
Listen,
pay last month's rent, I don't remember exact words, I'm sorry, this was a long time ago. I was under the understanding when I hung up the phone that if we decided that we didn't want to pay last month's rent, she would keep the security deposit.
Well, maybe you said to her, maybe since you don't remember the exact words, and maybe the impression was left with you because you said to her, I'm not giving you the last month's rent, keep the security deposit. Because then, that was on the 19th, sir?
Yes.
When did she change the locks on the house?
Like I said, sometime after the 20th. It was
Well,
about,
that would have been,
about
listen to me,
Okay.
listen to me, that would have been the very next day. So that makes sense to me. What makes sense to me is she called you and said, where's the rent? And you said, you're not getting the rent. You keep the security deposit. And then she says, oh, yeah, I'm changing the locks on the house. That makes sense. Not, don't come down and pay me the rent. I'll keep the security deposit for the last month. And then she goes in and changes the locks. That doesn't make sense. Okay, now, what I would like to see from you is photographs of the house if you have it.
Got those here.
And after I look at the photographs of the house, I would like to hear from your witness, if any. I assume that this is your witness, who's going to tell me something about these golf balls being hit off the roof, which A, B, and C deny. And D. Forgot about you. Sorry. Well, something's going on up there. Do you have major hailstorms?
No.
Nebraska?
Not that year.
Yes,
Huh?
yes, we did.
Major
Not
hailstorms?
that time.
You're
No.
kidding me.
It was probably the worst year for hail we've had in quite a while, actually.
Really? And you think that the hailstorms did this damage to the roof?
I don't know what the damage looks like, but
Well, I'm going to show it to you. You can bring this over and share it with A through D.
Pass them down, boys.
Your Honor.
I assume since you didn't see the damage and you don't know anything about the
I
damage.
do know one thing.
Yes.
I found out today that they had a fifth person living in my house because the man that came to help
Mr.
the last D,
Mr.
to
D.
help D
Perfect.
move out, was the one that told my new renters what they did, and they started at July 4th.
Just a second. You're the new renter?
That's correct.
Tell me your name.
Robert Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, when did you meet these gentlemen, if at all?
I believe it was either the 25th or shortly after the 25th of July.
And where did you meet them?
At the home.
What were they doing there?
They were removing their belongings.
Did you have a conversation with any of these gentlemen?
Yes, I had a conversation with a close friend of the defendant's. He said to me...
Just a second. What was his name?
You know, I don't recall at this time. I'm kind of flustered with names. I don't recall names very well. I'm more of a face person.
I can't take your testimony. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
This is a court. Court, we take evidence, Miss Reese. If this young man had had a conversation with one of these defendants, then certainly he could have testified if any of them made an admission to him. But you want me to take his testimony about somebody whose name he doesn't know, who's not present today, and that's hearsay, okay, to support your case. So I can't do that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Go Reese says her former tenants, Joel Hospadka, Ronald Heinlein II, Adam Hamilton, and J.J. Archewesky for damage to a rental property. Gail says the house looked like it had never been cleaned.
Okay. Do you have any photographs of the interior of the house, Miss Reese?
Your Honor, I lost, no, I didn't lose them. My sister-in-law did, but I have the letter I sent them with all the things that were wrong with the house. It was the abandonment letter that my attorney told me to write to them.
Whose job was it to clean the bathroom?
Kind of a joint effort.
Well, nobody, I see nobody raised their hand.
It was.
Okay. Who cleaned the bathrooms?
Usually probably me.
That would be... Because it says here, the bathrooms, and in big letters it says the bathrooms were disgusting. It appears as if it has never been cleaned. Well, based upon the lack of showing of hands, I would say that that's probably true. It's too late. Too late. Holes in the walls in the master bedroom, broken window, broken door frame. Who had the dog? Raise your hand. Dog! Mr. D, Mr. A. What kind of dog did you have?
We had 3 Chihuahuas.
Whose job was it to pick up the poop in the house from the dogs?
Whoever's dog it was.
Everybody pretty much.
And who did it?
We all did.
We all did.
Oh, there was some you missed.
Small dog.
Small dog. It's disgusting. You know, but you know.
Your Honor,
I've had 5 children who all went to college and who all, at one time or another, lived in rental property. And I remember I used to check to see if my inoculations were in order before I went to visit them. And if they would ever ask me, would you like to go visit my friend's house, I would say, no, thank you. They can join us for breakfast at McDonald's. Because I don't go to anybody else's mess. Bad enough I have to go and look at your mess.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that you've been very fortunate if you haven't had a mess.
Have been. This is the first time I've had it this bad.
I'm not even addressing the golf balls over here because you don't have any proof of that. You don't have any confessions and you don't have any witnesses who saw them hitting golf balls off the roof. And I'm not going to get any admissions from these guys because nobody even wants to admit who did the bathroom. Aside from the roof, let me see estimates of the damage to the house.
I didn't have them because I just wrote everything down when I sent them in that abandonment letter.
Yeah, well, that's not
and
good
at
enough.
the time of the lease, when they signed the lease, they asked if they could have 1 dog.
I don't care whether they have 1 dog, they can have 1 dog, they have 20 dogs. They got to clean up the dog's poop and not leave it in the closet. Listen, they did not pay the last month's rent, and they were there after the 18th of July. Therefore, they owe you the entire month's rent. That's $950. And based upon what I see in your abandonment letter and what they concede about the condition of the house, that they had 2 dogs, I mean, that's not something that you guess at. You didn't guess that they had 2 dogs. You found remnants of the dogs there. I can guarantee you that it cost $900 to fix up the mess that you left in the house. So you owe her $950 for rent, and you owe her $950 for cleanup. Well, you've already paid her $950 because that is your security deposit. So, gentlemen, you owe the plaintiff $950. Divvy it up. That's it. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
One of their friends told one of my new renters why the roof was damaged.
Everything on the roof is baloney, if you ask me. We never went on the roof. I don't know where she got that from.
I changed the locks and told them they had to call me when they were ready to get their stuff, that they were not going into the house.
There was stuff that we damaged. She didn't have a chance for us to fix it. I mean, she just changed the locks.
They're seniors in college. I hate to see what they did in high school.
We're 4 college guys. Obviously, there's going to be damages done to the house.
I feel sorry for the ladies that marry him.
In my opinion, she's a pathological liar, and now I understand why she's single.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gifford versus Swisher. Step forward, please.
Plaintiff Donna Gifford is suing her ex-boyfriend, construction worker Fred Swisher, for illegally evicting her from their home. Fred says Donna is vindictive and out of control.
Miss Gifford, you and the defendant lived together as boyfriend and girlfriend from when to when?
From October of 2003 till June of 2004.
And you moved into his apartment?
His house, yes.
Into his house?
Yes.
Did you pay him any rent?
Yes, I did.
When?
June of 2004.
So from October of 2003 until June of 2004, you paid him no rent?
No.
Now, this lawsuit is about the fact that you claim that sometime in June of 2004, you gave him a check for $500. And within 2 days of that, he locked you out of the house.
Correct.
So you want not only your $500 back, but you want 10 times those damages because you claim he illegally evicted you from the house. Why did you put her out of the house?
This all happened on the 17th, which was Thursday. On the 12th, it was a Saturday. We got into a real bad fight.
Was it a verbal fight or a physical fight?
Verbal fight, but the police were called later that day.
Okay. That was on the 12th?
Yes.
What happened after the 12th?
Well, Sunday we got back together, made an amends. Monday she wrote me a check for $500. $400 of it was supposed to be to help pay the bills. $100 of it was supposed to be to pay for my phone that she threw in the canal on Saturday.
Did you throw his phone in the canal on Saturday?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
What happened to his phone?
I don't know.
Don't smile. What happened to his phone? You don't make up a story like that.
I don't know what happened to his phone. It was in the canal. It fell off his boat.
It went into the canal. How did it get there?
We were on the boat that day.
And?
And I don't know how it got in the canal. It was in the canal.
How did it get into the canal?
I never had possession of my phone that day. She had picked it up and stuck it in a baggie when we got on the boat, because that's what we usually do so they don't get wet. And then the next day, we couldn't find my phone, and I took off. Later, she had called me and said, I seen it in the water by your dock, and she fished it out.
Okay, so she didn't throw it into the canal. You didn't have a fight on the boat, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you did have a fight on the boat.
That's where it all started.
Well, it seems to me, Miss Gifford, that it was a good idea for you to not live anymore as a couple. Wouldn't you say that?
Well, yes, in a sense.
What do you mean in a
sense?
That. Well, yeah, but listen to me. If you're fighting with somebody, to the extent that the police are called, it's a good idea that one of you leave.
Correct.
Well, you didn't expect that to be Mr. Swisher. It's his house.
Correct.
So it had to be you.
Correct.
So why didn't you leave after this altercation on the 12th?
Because he kept telling me, nope, I don't want you to go. I'm sorry, I got drunk. I shouldn't have acted this way. I'm sorry I locked the doors. I promise I won't do it again. Okay, fine. I'd stay or I'd move back in. I mean, this was a constant thing.
You should have been smart enough to say, listen, I'm not going to be a yo-yo. I'm going to find my own place to live, or I'm going to pay rent, or I'm going to pay for my own expenses.
Right.
I don't need you. Do you work?
I was working at the time. I got fired because of this.
So, let's talk about the $500. On the 15th of June, she gave you a check for $500.
Yes.
And then 2 days later, you changed the locks.
No, I didn't change the locks. She agreed to move out, and I moved her out for her.
Fine. Terrific. So you have to give her back her $500.
Even for the cell phone?
Yeah. Because I don't think that there's proof that she vindictively threw the cell phone overboard. You said you handed her the cell phone, you put it in a baggie, as you usually did, and she asked her where it was, and she said she saw it in the canal. Mr. Swisher, she gave you $500. You put her out. You lived together for 11 months. She wasn't paying rent, according to you, until the very last moment. So you took her money, and then you said goodbye. And you moved her out, which was a good thing. But you have to give it back at $500. Don't be a baby. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Good?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good. Thank you.
Judge Stephen, let's step out.
It was all a messed up deal all the way around.
All you had to do is give me my $500 back. That's it.
And I hardly do owe her the $500 back because within 2 days I asked her to leave my house.
You want me out? Just tell me, leave.
We were both so much in love at one time and it just seemed like it all just kind of went kaput.
Don't say 1 minute you love me and next minute I hate you.
I'll probably always care for her.
I just want to be treated with respect.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Baker versus Williams. Step forward, please.
23-year-old cocktail waitress April Baker is suing her ex-boyfriend's sister, 26-year-old medical secretary Angela Williams, for the return of her belongings. Angela says April stole her car.
Ms. Baker, you used to live in the apartment or the home of the defendant, who is the sister of your former boyfriend. Is that right?
Your Honor.
And this is the former boyfriend?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you claim that you were forced to move out because there was some sort of an altercation or an argument. And when you moved out, the defendant kept a lot of your property. You want to be compensated to the tune of $2,000 for that property. When did you move in with them?
It was May.
Why did you move in with them?
I was seeing her brother, so I decided that when I came back from vacation, I would move back in to the same area with them.
Where were you working?
I wasn't working at that very present time.
Immediately prior to that very present time, when was your last employment?
Before I moved to Worcester.
Give me a month and a year.
Okay, that would have been in February of 2004.
And what kind of work were you doing in February of 2000?
I was hostessing in a Greek restaurant in Tennessee.
When you moved from Tennessee to where?
To Worcester.
And how did you get there?
I took a bus.
How many suitcases did you have?
Your Honor, they weren't suitcases. They were very big Tupperware containers with lids.
And what was in the 2 Tupperware containers?
One of the containers contained all of my shoes and boots, and the other one contained all of my clothing belongings.
And when you left their house, what did you take with you?
Absolutely nothing, except for what I had on my person.
Do you have any of her property?
No, ma'am.
Where is it?
As far as I know, she took it with her when she stole my vehicle.
What month was that?
That was in July.
What do you mean she stole your vehicle?
She did take it, said that she'd be back, and never came back.
She didn't come back?
No, ma'am.
How long did she remain away?
She was gone that whole night, the whole next day. I finally got a phone call telling me that I could find my keys at her new boyfriend's house, and my car was at her job. So I had to find a ride to get my keys and my vehicle.
That sound familiar to you?
Vaguely, that is...
Not vaguely. Does that sound familiar to you?
That is pretty much the case, but not all the way, no. But yes.
So if you left, say, July 1st or 2nd, in her car, and you didn't come back, and you went to a new boyfriend's house, you're telling me that you just left with the clothes on your back and you didn't take anything with you?
Absolutely, Your Honor. I didn't leave to a new boyfriend's house. I left in the middle of the night. It was midnight Thursday, July the 2nd.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house to have a couple of drinks. I got intoxicated and did not drive back to her house because I'm not going to drive her car intoxicated. I did have her car dropped to my work so that she could pick it up. And the keys were where she said they were at that same person's house. But it was not, I did not take any of my belongings with me. I did not plan on being gone or not coming back. I did not steal her car.
Step up. What's your name?
Brian. Brian Williams.
Mr. Williams, do you have any of Miss Baker's property?
No, I do not.
Look at me. Did you throw it away?
No, I did not.
Do you know of anyone who threw it away?
No, I do not.
Well, I think you probably do. I think you probably either tossed her stuff or got rid of some of her stuff because you were annoyed with her. But you have to have some proof of that. She says she doesn't have your clothing. How do I know that she
She
didn't
had
take it
her
with you?
boyfriend come to my house and say, DYS appreciates your donation. That's the local juvenile facility.
Really? Did you say that to her?
No, ma'am.
Did you say
Her
anything?
boyfriend said that to me.
Did you say it to anyone?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Miss Williams, I have a feeling that you probably kept some of her stuff, and maybe you donated because you were really annoyed with her. That I can understand.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Well, somebody did. Let me see what you have there. Okay. Okay. $361, the legitimate bills that I have that you can establish here. Now, I don't know whether and how much they didn't return, but I know that you didn't return some stuff because I know you were annoyed. That's just common sense, that if she left there, you found some of her stuff there, and I believe that you did return some of her stuff.
Everything was gone when she stole my car, Your Honor. I don't
What?
owe her anything.
No, you're full of baloney. Don't believe you. I also don't believe that she had $2,000 worth of clothes because she didn't have a job.
Your Honor.
Maybe $360 worth of stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $360. That's all.
What is that you missed about?
She's wearing my clothes and my shoes right now.
They're lies just like everything else.
They stole my stuff.
She took them when she stole my vehicle.
I just didn't want to be around them anymore.
Probably still has it. Or left it at a different boyfriend's house.
Construction foreman Steve McMahon is suing his estranged wife, Secretary Cheryl McMahon, for flooding his boat when she sprayed it with her jet ski. Steve says he's been separated from Cheryl for 9 years.
Yeah, this is case number 265 on the calendar in the matter of McMahon versus McMahon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. McMahon, how long have you and the defendant been married?
11 years before separation.
Altogether, how many years have you been married?
20 years.
And how long has it been since the two of you lived together?
9.
You have children?
Yes.
How many children?
1.
How old is that child?
He's 17.
Your complaint says that your wife flooded your boat while she was out on the lake. Your boat was out on the lake, and she decided to sort of vandalize your boat while she was in her wave runner. That's what the case is about, that she seized the motor because she flooded the boat, and you want her to pay for the damage to the boat. But I have a few questions before I get there. When I read in your complaint that you and the defendant were separated for almost 10 years, I wondered why two people, if they're separated for almost 10 years, are not divorced.
Well, it was filed in 96. And
Who filed for divorce in 1996?
I did.
Okay.
So it's gone on for mostly assets, whose is what it's worth. It's gone to mediation, status conference hearings year after year. We're presently mediation. They should have the final report. Should be ended.
Are you a
this
very
month.
rich man?
No, ma'am.
Are you a very rich woman?
No.
Well, then what are we arguing about?
I don't know.
What are we arguing about?
Well, we had quite a bit of assets.
Like what?
We had a business together. We had been together for 20 years. So
no, you haven't been together for 20 years. You've been together 11 years.
Well, we lived together for a few years before. But we had vehicles and a lot of assets through our business.
Miss McMahon, how old are you?
I'm 48.
So that at the time that you and your husband separated, you were 39 years old. Is that right? A young woman. And you want a divorce?
Yes.
How old are you?
50.
You have a girlfriend?
Yes.
Is that this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been together?
4 years now.
You have a boyfriend?
Yes, I do.
How long have you been together?
About a year.
It's time.
Yes, ma'am.
I know. You two people are taking that very precious window. If you think of it this way, you're close to 50. For almost 20% of your life, you've been feuding. I mean, if you think about it. If you think about the fact that you don't grow up really until you're 20, and you're almost 50, that means for almost a third of your life, you've been feuding. You, a little less than that. Is that ridiculous? Ridiculous! Do you have lawyers?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a lawyer?
Not anymore because I've spent so much money on attorneys.
Right! Crazy people. All right. Tell me about this flooding of your boat.
Well, as in the police report, we spend a year every year at the river for 10 days.
Who does?
My girlfriend and myself. So on the second day of our vacation, I went for a boat ride in the morning, and the boat wasn't running right, so I was adjusting the idle. The next thing I know, a wall of water hits me, almost knocks me out of the boat, and the engine locks up.
And that was your wife?
Yes.
And did you see how she sprayed your boat and you with a wall of water?
Well, at the time I didn't see it because I was working on the engine, but when everything cleared and settled down, I looked, and there she was on the wave runner with her soon-to-be daughter-in-law. And I yelled at her, I said, "You idiot, you have no idea what you've just done." And she says, "He happens at the river," and drove off.
Nice.
Very nice.
And your boat was damaged?
Very much so, yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, after the bilge pumps came on, we had to bail the water out to keep it from sinking because it's been swamped before by bigger boats and it sank, so she knew what she was doing. We put it on the trailer. We had to walk on the trailer because the engine didn't run.
You have a picture of this boat?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please? While I'm looking at it, how big is this river?
It's 17 miles long from dam to dam.
So it's a big river.
Yes, Colorado
You just
River.
happened to find yourself in the same place at the same time?
No, the mediator explained to us that he let her know we were going on vacation and weren't available for a court appearance, and I think it was intentional that she was there at the same time we were.
Oh, so you had a court appearance?
Yes, and we canceled because of our vacation and our work schedules. We went to the river, and we missed the court date, and obviously he told her that where we were going to be.
How long in advance was this court date scheduled?
Probably 60 days.
So 2 months?
Yeah.
And you had to pick that time to go on vacation? Don't you want to get this whole process over with?
Oh, I'd love to.
So why'd you go on vacation when you had a court appearance?
Well, because we weren't ready for the status conference hearing. The mediator wasn't ready, wasn't done with his
Like
report.
what? What did you need?
Well, I needed him to finish his report, and he couldn't finish it.
Finish
in
his
that
report
time.
about what?
About the business assets. We had an auto repair business that lasted a whole year and a half, and Mrs. McMahon thinks it's worth millions of dollars.
And did you sell it?
No. Just closed
Well,
the
what do you
doors
think
on
happened to the business?
He actually moved the business to his residence in Carlsbad from our business in Oceanside. The lot that we had there was over an acre lot, so he had plenty of room to do auto repairs.
You're not talking about, you know, Boeing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He sued me for paternity on our son.
Oh, you thought that it might not be your child?
Biologically, he's not my child. No.
Oh, my goodness, how you people screwed up your lives. I just can't believe it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve McMahon says his estranged wife, Cheryl McMahon, flooded his boat, nearly sinking it. Cheryl says the incident was instigated by Steve's anger.
Madam, you're talking about, at best, a little mom-and-pop operation out of his house. Is that what you are holding hope of getting millions of dollars out of?
No. What I hope to is to get a loan paid off that Mr. McMahon made for this business. That was my hopes.
Okay, and is it a loan that you're responsible for?
Both of us are responsible for it.
Have you been paying it?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been paying it?
Yes, I paid up to 97 or 98.
Well, that's a long time ago. Who's been paying it since 97?
I don't know.
I have.
You have?
Yes.
How much?
It's like $19,000 I've paid against it.
Since 1997?
Yes.
Do you know that?
Well, the loan was only for $20,000, and we paid on it for almost 2 years before that. So
Yeah, but, you know, that could have been interest. You know, now she says...
No, there was
she
no
said,
interest. There was
shh, listen to me. What she says is she just wants to be absolved of at least half of this debt.
May I respond?
Yeah, sure.
This is why we're going through all these years of court proceedings, because all the receipts and checks and canceled, everything we present in the matter of this loan is fraudulent. So it goes on.
Just one
and
second.
on.
You have $19,000 that she said she's paid so far. Anything else owing on the loan?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
I think it's about $7,000 or $8,000 right now.
What is that, just interest?
It was a 15-year loan, and our payments were $225 a month.
Okay, so the first couple of years you paid Mr. McMahon, forget it. You know, I mean, that's ancient history. Okay? There's this big piece left. Why don't you just cut it in half and say this was a marital debt, over, finished. Pay it and goodbye. Did you pay a lawyer more than $15,000 over the last 9 years?
Actually, I couldn't answer that question because I haven't got a bill from him, but I'm sure it's going to be expensive.
Ma'am?
What?
It cost him $13,000 to take me to court for paternity.
Take you to court for what paternity?
He sued me for paternity on our son.
Oh, you thought that it might not be your child? Is that what you're telling me?
Biologically, he's not my child, no.
Was that established in the paternity test?
Because the way the law is written in California, if you raise a child over 2 years, he automatically becomes your responsibility.
Have you been supporting him?
Yes.
Well, oh my goodness, how you people screwed up your lives. I just can't believe it. And I have a sense that if I saw you back here in 10 years, you're going to be in the same spot. Just frittering away your whole lives over spite and meanness and nastiness and stupidity. Instead of just putting a period and moving on and saying, listen, I have a chance to have the rest of my life free and clear. Let me just do it. All this is money, and it's not major money. It's just, I've been paying it anyway. Let me just get over it. Here's some money. Here's my half. Goodbye and good luck. Let me have a happy life. Listen, how did it come about that you flooded his boat? You flooded his boat, right?
I did get water on his boat, yes.
Good. Okay. So now you're going to tell me how it came about that you flooded his boat.
Well, on August 13th, and to get back to the vacation, I vacationed out there that week because it's my birthday week every year since Steve and I separated. So he was very aware that I was going to be out there. I had no idea he was going to be out there.
Just tell me why you flooded his boat.
So our son went upriver on the wave runner, came back down and said, Dad's upriver. Can I go up there and ride in the boat? Well, because there's stipulations regarding the girlfriend on visitation, I needed to make sure that it was okay through Steve.
Why? What's wrong with the girlfriend?
Well, there's been drug and alcohol problems.
Well, did you ask your son whether the girlfriend was in the boat?
He didn't see her.
So then his father was alone in the boat. So what'd you have to go up there for?
Well, I needed to make sure that things were appropriate up there.
What does that mean? His father was out on the river in a boat. He's 17 years old.
No, he's 16.
See, he's 16 years old, and he wanted to go on the boat with his father.
Can I respond to that?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I went up along with Terry, my girlfriend. There was nobody. The boat was in the water. At that time, I took some pictures of the boat.
Why?
So that I could go back and show the court that the boat was in running operations. We were supposed to have it appraised out, but Mr. McMahon wouldn't agree to that. So we had to get a court order for that.
Just a second. So you just happened to have a camera on your wave runner.
Mm-hmm.
You just happened to have a camera on your wave. Just a second. On your wave runner when you went up river with this lady. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I always have a camera in there.
Always have a camera. Keep going.
Okay. He wasn't there. I went back down to camp. A little while later, I went for a ride, and I wasn't planning on seeing Mr. McMahon at that time, with Jessica. And we went upriver, and then on our way back, we seen that Steve was sitting in the boat.
Yes.
And I started to go closer to him.
Why?
Well, because I was going to ask him if it was okay for Stephen to be up there. And at that time, when he looked up and seen that it was me, he raised his hand up over his head with a tool or something, like he was going to throw it at it, and he's yelling at us to get that out of there.
Yes.
And so at that point, Jessica was screaming. I was concerned that he was going to hit me with something or hit Jessica. So I turned the wave runner and splashed him.
What a baloney
Went back
story.
To
what
camp.
a baloney story. I never heard such a baloney story in my life, Miss McMahon. You know, if you spend 10 years of your life angry, men fare better physically when they get when they're angry. Women get all these nasty lines and they get to look much older than their years. If you spend so much of your life being bitter, I suggest you get over it. How much did it cost to fix your boat?
$3,400.80.
How much is the boat worth?
Well, it was appraised at $8,000.
Let me see.
The appraisal or the receipt?
Both.
I don't have an appraisal. Because she had it done, I never got a copy of it.
Just a second. When did you buy this boat?
1976.
Listen to me. I'm not a stupid person. The boat's 30 years old. Show me an appraisal, sir.
I don't have a copy of the appraisal.
How large is this
She
boat?
can verify the appraisal. Her
Listen
appraiser
to-
did the work.
Just a minute. How large is this boat?
It's an 18-foot. It's a classic V drive. It goes
Classic.
up in value.
A classic.
Goes up in value.
Okay. Let me see the paid bill. How long was your boat out of commission after this flooding?
All summer. The rest of the season.
Had it been running prior thereto?
Oh, yes.
Judge Judy?
Yes.
Can I give you a receipt from, a letter from CarQuest that's stating that that invoice that he gave you is not an invoice that they can locate
Oh, yeah, I'd
or
love
that
to see
date?
That. I'd love to see that.
And that they use generated, computer-generated receipts.
Can I see that, please?
I can also show you.
Show this to the plaintiff, please.
Can I respond to that as well without looking at it? This is brought
Sure
to
can
my,
before I give him a call.
brought to my attention. Go ahead. Brought to my attention this yesterday from the harassing phone call that she made to CarQuest corporate headquarters. Now, this is the mechanic that repaired the boat who works for CarQuest, but he uses their format for his own receipts. Here's a letter from the mechanic
Just a
that
second.
works for CarQuest.
Just a second. Let me see it.
It's a private individual that was between him and I. Yes, it has nothing to do with CarQuest.
So what you're telling me now is that despite the fact that you're using CarQuest invoice, CarQuest did not do the work on this boat. Someone who worked for CarQuest did this work for you on his own time
That's correct.
and just used one of their forms in order to show how much money you spent on the boat. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling
That's the
me?
receipt he gave me, yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's the receipt he gave
And
me.
this is what you're giving me. You didn't tell me that that was the case. You gave me something with a card, which would lead me to believe, sir, that this company prepared this receipt, and that's a lie. Is that right?
I don't know. He gave me the receipt. I don't think
Just
it's a
listen
lie.
to me. You just said to me, this is somebody that didn't do it while they were working for CarQuest. This is somebody who did it on his own time. He just used one of their invoices.
Well, he used it. I didn't use it. It's a discontinued work order from CarQuest that he uses for his own personal use.
You're slippery. Did you take the boat to CarQuest?
No, I took it to his house. But he works for CarQuest. I didn't even think anything about it.
You want to know something?
Yes.
I believe that you spent some money to fix this boat. And I was prepared to rule in your favor. Because I think that she purposely and maliciously damaged your boat. That's what you did. You were angry and you purposely and maliciously damaged his boat. You flooded it. You knew you flooded it. I don't believe your baloney story about making sure that the boat was safe for your 16-year-old son when you went up there with somebody with a camera in hand on a wave runner. People usually don't do that. And you went up there to take a picture, according to you, of the boat in the water because you wanted it for the purpose of appraisal. So I don't believe you. And I believe that you purposely flooded his boat. I think that you presented me with a false document. And people who present courts with false documents don't get cut any slack, Mr. McMahon. You understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going to pay for this boat yourself. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. I'm just happy that Judge Judy could see what he's really like.
Chapter closed. I respect her decision.
This was a fraudulent receipt that he turned into the court. and we'll be taking it to the state of Arizona.
My lawyer tells me I'll have a Christmas present. Let's hope for that.
I hope it's over soon. That's all they want.
All parties in the matter of Hoyt versus Champ. Step forward, please.
Lumber salesman Robert Hoyt is suing his neighbor, Juanita Champ, for damage to his airplane. Robert says Juanita left a trash can in the taxiway.
Mr. Hoyt, I am so pleased that you brought that diagram. You don't happen to have a picture, do you?
I do.
I'd really like to take a look at the picture while I'm sort of recapping what I think happened in this case, or at least what you allege. You and the defendants live in a community where a whole bunch of people have airplanes. And instead of garages, there are hangars.
In addition to garages, there are hangars.
I wasn't looking to shortchange you, Miss Champ. I said there were big hangars for planes, but I'm sure you also have a car.
We do.
And it is your claim that you were taxiing your plane in an area where you are allowed to taxi your plane. It also serves as a street. And that the defendant placed her garbage can outside on your street/runway. As a result of that, you clipped the wing of your plane, causing damage. Right?
Correct.
And Miss Champ's defense is you weren't looking where you were going.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, show me what happened.
On May 21st, while taxiing out of my driveway to the neighborhood road, which acts as the taxiway, I S-turned all the way
S-turn.
down.
What's an S-turn?
It's going back in the shape of an S, back and forth. I have a tail dragger.
Why do you do that?
I have a tail dragger biplane where you cannot see over the nose of the biplane. So in order to taxi correctly, you have to do S-turns on the taxiway. And as you turn to your left, you look right. As you turn to your right, you look left.
Why did you get a plane where you can't see over the nose?
It's an aerobatic biplanes. To reduce drag, you don't have a nose wheel, so they give you a tail wheel. And also, if you're taking off grass runways, it gives you more prop clearance. So this is
Sorry I asked you. Okay, so you're zigging and zagging in order to get to the runway.
Correct.
Go.
And 3/4 of the way down, Miss Champ lives, and upon taxiing, and hit her garbage can.
She's not allowed to have a garbage can on her property?
She is allowed to have a garbage can on her property, but the easement for the safe passage on the taxiway, 25 feet off center, is to have no obstructions. And an additional 10 feet beyond, there's to be nothing exceeding 2 feet in height. This garbage can is 3 feet and 2 inches, and she chose to put it alongside the taxiway. I have a videotape that also will show this, and I have the CCNRs, which will state this.
Take the videotape for me.
Sure.
Put it in. And let me take a look at that
And there's the
regulation.
And also, Your Honor, from our Neighborhood Safety Committee, which will show that CCNR. You can see the can, which is circled with a red dot.
That looks like the can's out in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I don't. That's
Can
not on
is
the grass, sir.
never in the middle of the street.
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
Was your garbage can outside?
Yes, it was.
Was your garbage can 10 feet in from your property line?
Probably not.
Why?
Well, every Wednesday the garbage cans are out there. Mr. Hoyt's also has been out there all that same time.
Mr. Hoyt, do you place your garbage cans out for collection every Wednesday?
Nope. Garbage is on Thursday, and mine go out Thursday morning.
You have different people picking up garbage in your area?
We place ours out in the evening because we don't want to get up before 7 a.m. But ours was out early that day.
Was this a Wednesday or a Thursday?
This was a Wednesday morning.
It was Wednesday because we were going on vacation and we put our garbage can out a few hours before we would normally put them out.
Okay. Now, when you put your trash cans out on Thursday morning, sir, I would assume that you put them out closer than 10 feet just that one day, and everybody is aware of that. Is that right?
That one day, sure.
Yes. Okay, I knew I was going to get there. So on Thursday, everybody is aware. Watch out on Thursday morning because the garbage cans are out there. Is that right, Mr. Hoyt?
That's correct.
But this was out Wednesday morning, so you weren't expecting garbage cans to be out Wednesday morning.
No.
I got it. I'm going to get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
I got a lot to say.
Well, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Hoyt, would anything prevent you, if you wanted to take your plane out for a spin, to get into your car, take a ride down the quarter of a mile and see whether there are any obstructions in the road? Would anything prevent you from doing that?
Nothing would prevent me from
Don't
doing
you think that that's a good idea, sir?
In light of what happened, that's a prudent thing to do.
Absolutely, because it could have just as easily been a bunch of kids there as a garbage can. And if you can't see, then it's up to you to be particularly careful, right?
Correct.
Now we're going to get to Miss Champ, who told me she has a whole bunch to say. Go!
Okay, thank you, Judge Judy. One of my premises is that Mr. Hoyt can taxi out of his driveway, go directly across our road, and taxi directly onto the runway.
Why do you think he would choose not to do that?
Because he likes to show off.
Well, explain that to me.
He had a passenger on board his airplane. He was trying to show off the neighborhood.
Is there a passenger on board your plane?
Doyce Bishop was my passenger at the time.
Okay. So Mr. Hoyt knows that you can't see over the front of his plane. It would seem to me that if you don't have at all times a clear view of what's in front of you, then you have to make darn sure that the area is clear. So you have partial responsibility and at least are contributorily negligent yourself in maneuvering your plane in such a way that you cause damage to it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's all your fault, but I'm saying it's at least half your fault, and I haven't let Miss Champ finish, because she's got a lot more to tell me. Okay, so you think he was showing off, but you weren't there?
I was not there, but I have witnesses who were there.
Okay, here's the witnesses. Tell me your name.
William Peterson.
Mr. Peterson, were you present on May 21st, 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My wife and I were out in the yard. Bob come taxiing by, and he was doing his weaving. And he looked over at us and waved. And I'm sure that distracted his attention.
You remember that, sir?
Waved to not go move his truck. That's what he was signaling. He goes to get in his truck, and I'm like, no. And you can see his truck parked there. I diligently avoided his truck. Her garbage can, from visibility of the cockpit, was sitting behind the truck. And as I did my S-turn, so my wing avoided his truck, I did not leave the taxiway. I taxied to the right. When I did my next S-turn, I'm now pointed directly at a garbage can that should not be there. As you can see, nobody else's is.
So what you were trying to do, sir, is to avoid his truck.
Absolutely.
Now, if his truck had not been there,
I would have seen the can.
Could you have seen it if you got in your car before you got in your plane and drove that quarter mile up the road to see if there were any obstructions?
I had picked up Doyce and his son and another friend at the airport. When we came back that morning, we probably came back before Juanita put it out.
Well, what time was that?
I don't remember the exact time when you came in the morning, but...
10 o'clock.
How long did it take you to get back to Mr. Hoyt's house?
It was probably about 11 o'clock when we were taxiing. So
Okay, who put your garbage cans out?
Actually, my husband did.
What time?
Boy, that's been a year ago. My guess would be 10:30 maybe.
How long of a drive is it from where he picked you up to where he brought you back to his house?
It must have been 45 minutes, I'm guessing.
So it was a pretty close thing as to whether the garbage can got out there before or after you got into your car. I don't know. Now, after he hit the garbage can, did he stop his plane?
Yes.
Got out and looked at it?
No, he did not. I come running over there, and all the garbage is blowing all over the place. And he says, would you look under my wing and see if you see any damage? Well, it's a fabric airplane with ribs, so it, you got the dips.
Mm-hmm.
I looked under it, and I could not see any damage. And so I says, I do not see any.
Uh-huh.
And so then he...
Took off.
Took
Did you
off.
go flying that day?
Yep.
Yes, we did.
How long did you fly that day?
Probably about 35 minutes, 40 minutes total.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Hoyt. Because you flew that day, did it exacerbate any damage that was done by the garbage can?
No.
Well, if your wing was so damaged and your plane is fabric plane, right?
Correct.
And you're telling me that you don't think that a fabric plane's wing could be further damaged by flying it for an additional 35 minutes after an injury?
No, they could.
Well, Ms. Champ, I think you're absolutely adorable, but I think that you have some responsibility with regard to this accident because you did put your trash can out on a day when he was not anticipating that it was going to be out there. You acknowledge yourself that it wasn't beyond 10 feet of the property line, which was the agreement of all residents. That doesn't excuse Mr. Hoyt from doing everything that he should have done. He should have inspected that area. And in addition to that, he drove the plane after this incident, which could have further exacerbated whatever injury was done to the plane's wing on the 21st of May. So I think that you bear the greatest responsibility, Mr. Hoyt. I'm giving you $1,000 towards your bill, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you very much.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
I think I can say that Bob and I don't really have a problem between us.
I understood her points, but for her to say I'm showing off in court was ridiculous.
He can't see out of his airplane. He shouldn't taxi down that road.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McGinnis versus Carter. Step forward, please.
Restaurant owner Michael McGinnis is suing his former employee, 20-year-old student Amanda Carter, for stealing 180 sodas.
Mr. McGinnis, you own a restaurant, and the defendant was an employee of yours. She worked as a waitress. Your complaint is rather unique, sir. It is your claim that while she was employed by you, when she wrote out checks, she did not charge customers for sodas. According to you, based upon your calculations, approximately 180 sodas were not charged, because you believe that it's impossible for people to have ordered that many meals without ordering a drink. And therefore you claim that Ms. Carter stole from you and you want her to reimburse you in the amount of $315. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. When did you start to work for Mr. McGinnis, Ms. Carter?
The beginning of December.
And how long did you work for him?
I worked for him for 4 months.
What kind of restaurant is it?
It's a sports bar.
Is this your first job as a waitress?
No, it's not.
How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
All right. So, Mr. McGinnis, tell me what makes you think that Ms. Carter stole from you.
My wife and I, Your Honor, went to a food show. We returned from the food show, and my wife checked receipts. And for her receipts that day, there were 18 meals that there were no drinks charged on.
Okay.
So the day before that, there were no drinks charged that day. But our policy is, all meals, you charge drinks. I asked Amanda, why were there no drinks charged on the meals? And her reply was, I forgot.
She forgot to charge them?
She forgot to charge them.
Okay.
But the only thing that the server can get to themselves are sodas, chips and salsa. Everything else they have to order through the screen. But I just can't believe, Your Honor, that individuals are choking down cheeseburgers and nachos and burritos without drinking anything.
Well, she already told you. She said she forgot.
She forgot to charge.
Yeah, that's what she said. She said she forgot.
Right. But 180 times, she didn't forget to take her tips home. She didn't forget to pick up her check.
Right.
She forgot to charge for sodas, time after time.
When you do a check, how is the bill generated?
It's generated without the drink.
So the cost of the food itself comes off the computer.
Yes.
And then the server has to take an additional step before they add up the bill and add on 4 drinks,
Yes.
and then you total it.
Yes, Your Honor.
So she said to you, I forgot.
Yes.
And she's just lazy. Well, what do you think she was doing? You think she was serving these drinks and drinking them all herself?
No, Your Honor. I believe that she was serving the drinks and possibly telling the patron that she was buying the drinks for them in order to get a better tip.
That's a possibility. It's also a possibility she forgot, right? It's
I don't
also
think so,
a
Your Honor.
It's also, well, it's a possibility. It's just as possible as the scenario that you proposed, that she told all these 18 people on one day, I'm not charging you for drinks, you can add it to my tip, right?
Yes.
It's just as possible as that. You say she's a thief.
Well, not looking at the face, but looking at the proof, I believe she's running a little scam on me.
You didn't charge for the drinks, Amanda. How come you didn't charge for the drinks?
I didn't charge for the drinks because they simply weren't ordered. The bar area is first when you come into the restaurant, and many people came into the bar and bought their beer and their mixed drinks and such and purchased them from the bartenders and then made their way into the dining area where there are TVs where people like to come in and watch sports.
All right, but it's also possible, Amanda, that occasionally you let slip by.
Oh, yeah,
charged the
definitely.
Drinks and didn't put it on the bill, right?
Yeah.
So that's a possibility.
That's a very big possibility, yes.
Do you ever tell people, listen, I'm not going to charge you for the sodas, so you could add it to my tip?
No, I've never done that.
Now, I can understand. You said to me, Amanda served those drinks, and she got the money for it and pocketed the money, and therefore she's a thief. But you're not saying that. You're saying that you choose to believe that instead of being forgetful, stupid, you know, she's a criminal, a thief. She stole money from you. And I don't buy that, Mr. McGinnis. I think that that's a very nasty thing to think about. What is? Are you on medication?
Am I on my medication?
Are you on any medication, sir? I'm wondering why you've got this grin on your face that seemed plastered onto your face. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Can't believe you had 18 people in a row drinking water that day.
I did not steal anything from Mr. McGinnis.
And Amanda's not stupid.
It would have been highly impossible to do so.
Quite obvious what was going on.
I enjoyed working for him while I did.
I think we'll put shock collars on all the servers.
I wish him the best of luck with everything that he's trying to work with his business.
19-year-old Melinda Krieger says former live-in boyfriend Ashley Brittingham owes for several unpaid loans. Melinda says when she received a large check from Social Security, Ashley turned in.
Selena Brown and Trayon Dupree are suing their customer, Brianna Freeman, for rental car damage and lost wages.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2174, Brown Dupree versus Freeman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, who's the business person?
It's us.
That would be you?
Yes.
Your name is Mr. Dupree.
Mr. Dupree.
You a couple?
No, ma'am. It's business partners.
In what business?
Car rental.
How do you know each other?
We met from military.
So you're not a couple, you're just in business together. I just want to know. Don't both smile. I just want to know. Let's go.
We're friends. Yeah, we're friends. We're friends.
What? This is not going to happen for me.
We're not a couple. We know we're friends, you know, and we decided to go in business together.
Where do you live?
Houston, Texas.
Where does she live?
Houston,
Where does she?
Houston, Texas.
Does she live in the same place that you do?
In the same home?
In the same place, building?
Oh, no, we don't.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
Who does she live with?
Herself.
When did you meet in the military?
2021. Not really sure exactly what month.
Now, if you're in business together, is the only business you had this one car that we're...
Yes, we was just starting.
What kind of work do you do?
Crane operation.
Full-time?
Yes.
And what about you?
I work at a call center.
So that's your primary source of income?
That's correct.
Yes.
And you decided to do this car rental as sort of a side gig?
Yes.
We had just got out the military, so we didn't have a job then. So we did it for a primary source of income.
Well, you can't have one car that you rent as a primary source of income.
We have our military disability check as well, so we have that. And we
How long were you in the military?
Almost 9 years.
And you?
8.
Where did you serve?
Norfolk, Virginia, and Mayport, Florida. Jacksonville, Florida.
So you were never out of the United States?
Yes, I went overseas for deployments, but never stationed.
But where did you go on your deployment?
Bahrain, Dubai, Greece, Italy, and all over.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What about you?
Only Virginia.
Only Virginia?
Only Virginia.
How did you become disabled in Virginia?
I have no idea.
I mean, you said you're on a military disability, so, you know, I could understand if you deployed someplace else.
I have no idea.
You have no idea what?
Why, I guess, became disabled. Just mentally, I guess. Mental.
Well, you applied for a disability from the Army.
You said what?
What?
I said mentally.
Just my own curiosity. I have to see how this is going. How much is your disability benefit from the Army?
$2,000.
A month? Mm-hmm. It's not an answer. Yes is an answer. What about you?
Same.
And is your disability mental or physical?
Both.
Well, your physical disability doesn't inhibit you from being a crane operator.
No, not really.
Great. I love America. Okay, so now you're out, you're both on disability from the Army. You don't have a job yet, so you decide to buy a Mercedes.
That's correct.
What year Mercedes?
2014.
And how much was it?
$22,000.
Is there a note on the car?
Yes.
For how much?
$350.
Per month?
Yes.
How much of a loan did you take out?
23, one of them. It's not too much.
Car was only 22.
The car was 22.
I don't know the exact number that the car is right now, but it was between 21 and 23,000 that we owed on it. And I took the loan out.
Where is the car now?
In Texas.
With whom?
She has it right now.
What was the rental agreement that you had with Miss Freeman? You didn't form a business corporation or anything else, am I correct?
Yes, we have LLC.
And the sole asset is this car.
Yes.
You bought the car when? Give me the date again.
I think it was in July.
July of 2022?
That's correct.
And when did you rent the car to the defendant?
August 27th.
Do you have the rental agreement?
I don't have the original agreement because it was in my car that was stolen, but I made her take a picture with her driver's license and send it to me. So this is a copy, and this is before she signed it.
And I have after I signed.
It's literally the same thing.
Yes.
And so you know you.
Let her talk.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is take a look at this, Ms. Freeman, and tell me if you have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same.
Yes,
what is she
ma'am.
had? Okay. And this is the entire agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Selena Brown and Trayon Dupree claim their customer, Brianna Freeman, owes for damages to their Mercedes rental car. Brianna is countersuing for lost wages.
So there's nothing in this agreement that prevents her from allowing somebody else to use the car, and the agreement specifically says that if anything happens to the car, she is responsible to use her insurance, and you have a policy number, your policy number for insurance. Okay, so your boyfriend was driving the car on what date?
The 1st.
1st of what?
September. And I have the accident report if you want that.
Not yet, I may. Not yet, but there was an accident and the car was damaged.
Correct.
Anybody have a photograph of the damage to the car?
I have it on my phone if you would like to see that.
I would.
While we're waiting, Your Honor, I found the LLC filing that lists both of them as the
principals.
As the principals, but they list the same address for both of them. Their residents are listed as the same.
Oh, really? Interesting. Want to say that a little louder?
I just said I found both of them listed as managing members of the LLC with the same address for both of them listed.
I lived in a different state when we started. I was in Florida.
We don't live together. That's what y'all are saying.
It just lists.
Yeah, that's just the LLC address.
It's in my boyfriend's phone because the number that's on the contract was his phone at the time. So if you want to see.
I had a picture right here.
And I have multiple pictures as well.
Of the car?
That's correct.
Well, that's what I'm asking you for. I said I want to see pictures of the damage to the car. You were in an accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you agreed in this contract that if you were in an accident, Brianna, that would be you,
yes,
will use her insurance if anything happens during the rental. Brianna will be responsible to pay out of pocket.
Correct.
You signed that?
Correct.
Okay, so you were in an accident. I don't care whose fault it is because it doesn't have anything to do with fault. Picture of the car.
It's
another paper picture.
It's a couple pictures, so you can just check as well.
Stand up. Somebody hit you in the rear?
No, in the front.
Oh, this is the front of the
They
car.
ran a stop sign.
What?
They ran a stop sign. I was coming up. They were coming across.
Well, whatever. You got damage in the front of your car. In my mind, that usually means that you hit somebody.
No, they came across from me. They ran a stop sign in front of me.
And you hit them. Okay, well, that's what it usually means, that you hit somebody in the front. Okay, and that was on September 1st.
Correct.
Did you notify your insurance company?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to see proof of that.
So these are the claims, the quotes they gave me to fix the car. Also, this is when I let her know, Ms. Brown, what was covered under my policy.
I'd like to see it.
So that's that. It shows what's covered in my policy.
Was the car fixed?
Absolutely
not.
No.
It was not?
Not at all.
Why not?
Because I didn't talk to Trayon, Mr. Dupree, however you say his name, until the day, September the 5th. All of my business was going through Mrs. Brown. So I don't know if he just found out what happened. But when I called the insurance on the 1st, they let me know that he was the owner of the vehicle. I said, okay. They said they'll have to go through everything through him so that the car can get fixed because I wasn't the title holder. I said, that's fine. I said, okay, due to the fact that the car got wrecked, I let her know that once the car goes to Mercedes-Benz to get fixed, they give a loaner vehicle. I let them know everything that was covered. Why it didn't get fixed? Because she popped up to my home. and caused drama. I lost my job behind it, so forth and so on.
What does that have to do with your responsibility? Your boyfriend had an accident with a car. You have a contract that says you're going to fix it.
Because Trayon said it wasn't enough.
What do you mean Trayon said it wasn't enough?
I sent him the quote for their adjusters, and he said that wasn't enough to get it fixed. And I have that text message from Trayon.
Just a second. I'd like to see your quote from your company. Where did you take the car for them to send an adjuster to take a look at the car?
I had to take pictures of the car and upload it to the app they sent me, and that's how they got those quotes.
They have an estimate here of $3,000. Did you get an estimate to fix the car?
Yes, we got an estimate.
I'd like to see it.
In person. In person. That was just the picture, and when I
Okay, got it.
May I interject a little bit? Because Brianna kind of lying, and she raised her right hand. So Brianna didn't notify us that the car was wrecked until September 3rd. She told us that she was in the hospital with her dying father.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I don't care.
She lied about
I don't care.
She lied about how the car got wrecked.
I don't care. It doesn't matter how the car got wrecked. She has an obligation to fix it. She has an obligation to fix it. And to be quite honest with you, this is a Mercedes, and this car can't be fixed for $2,900. Can't. He's absolutely right. This car can't be fixed based upon that damage. And he wasn't prepared to say here.
No, it wasn't that at all. So once, I guess, he got involved in the business, I was talking to Ms. Brown. She said she had a rental the next day or something in that manner. And I said, okay, well, let me find a Mercedes-Benz that can actually get your car in so you can get this loaner car for you to rent your car out. Also, in the midst of that, I was going to pay for the rental that she had that was so much wanted to cancel on her. So I said, okay, Mercedes has a loaner car and can accept your car at the time.
Well, they couldn't fix this car for $2,900.
That's what they gave me, and they said that if it went to a Mercedes-Benz shop, they will honor that.
I don't know that at all.
That's what they told me.
I don't care.
But regardless of the price of getting the car fixed, I was going to pay because I know that we was at fault for it. Quote unquote, it was my contract that I signed. That wasn't an issue.
Well, then you can take that up with your insurance company.
Correct. I didn't have a problem with paying.
Yeah, then you can take it up with your insurance company.
Selena Brown and Trayon Dupree have accused their customer, Brianna Freeman, of damaging their Mercedes rental car after her boyfriend was in an accident.
He has an estimate that looks like a pretty legitimate estimate. They bought the car. It's a relatively new car. They paid $22,000 for it. Your boyfriend wrecked it, and he has an estimate, which looks reasonable, for $8,000 to fix it. And if your insurance company is dragging their heels and not paying what they should, you take that up with your insurance company.
I never got that quote, by the way.
Which quote?
The quote that the $8,000. I never got that.
Well, I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, it's probably be true.
$8,319.
Her insurance denied it because she lied. She lied about how the accident happened. So they denied.
Don't listen to me. You started to say that before. I told you I don't care.
My insurance.
Just a second.
Your insurance what?
Never denied the claim.
I have proof. I talked to him. I have proof. I have the email where he said they denied it because.
They definitely denied it.
Because I told them to stop because she popped up at my house.
Because she lied about the accident. Because we tried to get it through our insurance as well.
I don't know why you're arguing. It doesn't appear, madam, it doesn't appear as if you are losing this case. So I don't know why you feel compelled to make it hostile. I don't understand why.
She's just lying and cost us so much money. Like,
madam, listen to me. We're all told. You okay? Good. Your car is in this condition at whose house? At your house?
That's correct.
And the car, since the accident, which was 4 months ago, has it been rented?
No.
No. Is it drivable?
Yes, it's drivable.
When was the last time you drove it?
Last week.
When was the last time you rented it?
Since Brianna.
Have you been making the payments on the car?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's been making the payments?
Both.
What is the monthly payment?
$350. $350.
You told me that. The insurance up to date?
So We had insurance. We had commercial insurance on it. But when I put in the claim and told them what happened, because we did get lied to about what actually happened, and we didn't get informed of the accident till the 3rd. But when I put in the claim, I put it in how they told us what happened. And my insurance, they found the police report before we did, and they seen what actually happened. So they felt like we was trying to do fraud. So the guy, he told us it's better for us to pull the claim because it's going to look like it's fraud on our part. So they dropped us from the insurance.
So they dropped you after?
Yes.
After the accident?
Yes.
Can I see the police report now? Well, this police report indicates that the other person was at fault.
That was my... Oh, sorry.
Am I wrong about that?
No, ma'am.
No, then don't speak. This police report, did you see it?
Yes. Got it right here.
I'd like to see what you have. This police report clearly says that Unit 1, which was the woman, ran a stop sign. That's what it says. Why would your insurance company drop you?
Because we gave the story that she told us, so it looks like we're doing fraud.
Yeah.
And basically, ignorance isn't an excuse for them. So.
Actually, that's pretty outrageous.
We just told it was a hit and run.
She told us it was a hit and run, so we told them that. She said she was in the hospital when it got hit, and then we found the report. She waited until the day that we had a rental to tell us. We had another rental on the 3rd that afternoon. She told us that morning.
On the 3rd?
That's correct.
And the accident was on the 1st?
That's correct.
Okay. I think you have to get your car fixed. I think that the fact that your insurance company canceled your insurance when it was clear that he was not at fault in this accident, at least according to the police report, is actually pretty outrageous that they canceled your insurance. Is there any insurance on the car now?
Yes, there's regular insurance on it.
Not commercial anymore?
No, not right now because we're not renting it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
I'm glad we won and everything. I felt like, we deserved more than we got, but at the end of the day, we won the case. I'm not mad at the decision.
I'm fine with it regardless because I know I was trying to get it fixed. It was just a timing issue.
She lied about everything. She literally lied about everything. She pulled out a gun on me.
Lying, I don't have anything to lie about. It's all in my evidence.
Like, she told me to come basically get the car and the keys in the mailbox. And when I went over there to get it, she pulled a gun out on me because I took my wig off.
She posted stuff saying I lied about things. I pulled my gun out on her. Like, girl, I don't have a gun, like, at all.
I think that they put it inside, so they checked them. But they said they couldn't go inside, so they checked their body.
They checked them. They wasn't able to prove that they had a gun because,
So she said it was a gun, it was a bat, and I had to get checked twice by the police officer. And it was like, she came over here looking for problems because the car was gonna get towed.
It's definitely a risk, but, make sure we're prepared for stuff like that from now on.
No hard feelings, supporting black businesses, but it is what it is. You know what you know, it's just fact.
I think I should just be grateful. I'm just gonna be quiet and just be grateful.
I'm sitting here trying to think of what the takeaway is on this case, and I can't think of the takeaway?
I mean, I'm having a hard time as well, but I think accountability and responsibility could be a good one. The defendant knows what she signed, that any damage to the car from her boyfriend, her, anyone while the car was in her possession is on her. But what we see a lot of is emotional issues come into play when people know their responsibility, but then there's an emotional issue. She came to my job, she harassed me, she came to my house and yelled at me, whatever it is. And they think they can use that as a justification to get out of their accountability. And although I'm not promoting going to someone's house for some self-help, that's not a reason for you not to follow through on your responsibility.
On your contractual responsibility.
Yes. Which she was clearly aware of. So maybe that.
That's the takeaway. Maybe that. You're right.
Kamar Jalil is suing his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, for rent and the cost of 2 cats.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case 2170, Jalil versus Calderon Nepomuceno.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, my goodness. Calderon,
Hello.
What's your first name?
Amante.
Amante.
Yeah.
Good. It's much easier than your last name for me to pronounce. Mr. Jalil, this roughly is what the case is about. You and Miss Calderon were in a relationship for a period of time. You decided to take an apartment. You were both on the lease. So far, correct?
Correct.
Your arrangement with Miss Calderon, which seems to be consistent in both your complaint and your answer, is that you had a much better paying job. She was going to provide the food and some other stuff for the house, and you were going to be covering the rent when you lived together, which you did.
Correct.
There came a time when Armante, who was a friend of yours, came to live with you. According to you, he was going to help out with the rent.
Correct.
He came, he lived with you, he helped out with the rent for maybe a period of time, and then he helped himself to your girlfriend.
Correct.
Now they're a couple. When you were no longer a couple with Miss Calderon, she stayed in the apartment for a period of time, but then they both left.
Correct.
And you're suing both of them for rent and for the return of 2 cats that they took when they left. You claim the cats are yours.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. And some cat expenses in the event that I let them keep the cat. Cats. 2 cats. So when did you and Miss Calderon sign a lease together?
We signed the lease together at the end of July with the landlord present.
July of 2022?
July of 2021. Correct.
And it was for a year?
Correct.
And you had a job working for whom, sir?
I worked for a company called Steris.
What do they do?
They provide medical equipment to hospitals all over the world.
How long have you been working for them?
I'm going to have 8 years under my belt this year.
And when you moved into the apartment in July of 2021, what kind of work was Miss Calderon doing?
At the time, she was working at an animal hotel.
It was a pet daycare boarding facility.
Okay. Were you an hourly employee?
I was an hourly employee.
And I am correct that when you moved in July, your arrangement was that you were going to pay the rent.
That was...
The arrangement.
Correct.
When did Armante come to live with you?
About August to...
That's
right.
Correct.
Shh.
He...
Just...
Amante was going to be our 3rd roommate.
You mean 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Well, you're not roommates, really. You and the defendant, Miss Calderon, were not roommates. You shared a room.
We shared a room and...
And Armante was going to live where?
In another room.
And what was your arrangement with Armante with regard to paying rent?
We would split the rent 3 ways.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And how much was your share of the rent?
I would say approximately $927.
How long did you live there?
I was there when they signed the lease. I watched it all happen when they signed the lease. I came in, they signed everything.
Well, you didn't sign the lease.
I did not.
But you were there from the beginning?
Yes.
And it was your agreement with the plaintiff that you would pay 1/3 of the rent?
Yes.
Great.
We asked the landlord
Okay,
to.
so, hey, try not to hold each other's hands. Let's do the coochie someplace else. So you agreed with the plaintiff that despite the fact that you were not on the lease, you were going to assume the responsibility of 1/3 of the rent, $927.
Yes.
So you moved in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. You left in April?
Yeah.
So you were there for 9 months?
Yes.
Did you pay rent for the 9 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
He paid rent for about the 7.5 months.
Okay. And then you left?
Yes.
Why did you leave?
I decided to leave because he decided to go to another place he was offered. So
what do you mean he decided to go to another place?
He got a place from his grandparents in another city. So I couldn't hold down the rent with her. So I decided to leave to save money and go back to my parents' house.
Now, Mr. Jalil, you see, you don't make up a story like that, like he just told me. A lot of that has the ring of truth to it. Where are you living now?
My grandparents' house in an in-law unit.
So when did you tell them that you were going to a different place?
In March.
When did you leave?
I left in July.
Did you let him know that you were staying until the end of the lease?
I
what?
I
what?
discussed with them that I would be leaving, but I would stick around to help them find either a different location or even suggesting that we all went back to our respected families just to, call it.
Mr. Jalil, this isn't working for you. I have to tell you something, sir. This case is not working for you at all. And it's only because Mr. Amante is very direct with me that you're suing them for $10,000. Where does that come from in your mind? Your agreement with her was you were going to pay the rent. You're never out of pocket. Your agreement was you were going to pay the rent. He paid his rent when he was there. He paid his 1/3. You then told them you were leaving. That's a whole different story than what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Giulio. Do you understand?
Correct.
It's a whole different story. So, at best, Armante would owe you for 3 months' rent if they just left. But you told them that you were leaving. Now, when did you find out that they were a couple?
I found out at the end of April.
Were you all living together?
Yes.
So you just had 2 months left to the lease. So he was paying you, he paid you in March, you had May, June, you signed the lease in July, so it was over at the end of June, June 30th.
It would have been over at the end of July, Your Honor.
Well, she doesn't owe you any money for rent. At most, he owes you 2 months' rent. Tell me why you left.
My job doesn't pay that well, so I decided to go back to my parents' house.
When you took this apartment, this expensive apartment that was almost $3,000 a month rent, had you had a discussion with Armante about moving in with you before?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Jalil, I'm reading your complaint because something wasn't registering right with me. You say you moved into the apartment together in August of 2021. Then you go through a whole bunch of stuff about a cat and then another adopted cat. You said in October we adopted a second cat. Around this same time, a third roommate moved in to shoulder some of the rent. Well, that's not true. He moved in right at the beginning.
And that was...
That was what?
That was...
a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Okay. But Armante acknowledges that he agreed right at the beginning. He volunteered the fact that he was there at the lease signing because it was agreed at the lease signing that he was going to pay a third of the rent. So, sir, you owe him rent as long as you show me that you've paid the rent. You moved out in July?
Yes.
And you paid your rent through July, or were you evicted?
No, I paid my rent in July.
Through July?
Yes.
Okay. 1854. Armante, you owe him $1,854. That's for 2 months' rent. Got it? Okay. I'm not subtracting anything because you stole his girlfriend.
That's fair.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case?
Either the return of both cats or $5,000.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Jalil.
Kamar Jalil claims his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, are wrongfully keeping his cats and owe him rent money.
Now let's deal with the issue with the cats. She doesn't owe you any rent. That was not your agreement with her. You moved out in July. August, September, October, November, December. 5 months ago, she's had both cats, right?
Correct.
She says they're her cats. When did you first file a small claims case?
September of 2022.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case? Be careful.
I was requesting either the return of both cats or $5,000, which was the accumulated expense of not just the cats, but also the expenses of her dogs as well. So any animal expenses for the time.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Jalil. When the cats were either registered or went to the vet, whose name is on the sheet as owner?
I believe it was Miss Calderon.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she owns the cats, and she's had them for the last 5 months. I suggest that you go and adopt 2 more if you want some more cats. Do you understand?
Yes.
You were living together as a couple. However, your friend Armante has to pay you for the couple of months' rent that he didn't because he says, not you, he volunteered that was your agreement from the very beginning. So he owes you $1,854. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think he's just kind of butthurt that I moved on.
At least now I can put everything behind me and say that I did try.
I didn't think it would escalate this far.
All you can do in a situation like this is just you learn from it and you move on.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
This is what it is. It's life.
I find fascinating, Sarah, that people will write and or be assisted in writing a complaint and an answer. But they read it over. This man is an intelligent man. He has a serious job for 8 years. First of all, he was suing for $10,000. Come up with that money. $5,000 for the cat's expenses, ridiculous. But his complaint had really nothing to, even the timeline.
As your clerk, I know that is a pet peeve of yours when
I don't understand
they
it.
don't match up.
If you're going to tell a lie,
at least tell a consistent lie.
Right.
I think the right thing happened. I think the defendant friend admitted himself that he owed the rent, and that was great, even though he probably should have just kept his mouth shut.
And not said, I was there when the lease was signed. This was always our agreement.
Yeah.
I was going to be the
but
third
he was
roommate.
honest, which we always appreciate, and so I think the right thing.
So
I think he needs to, like you say, put a period, move on.
Anyway, all happy, and they look happy. They couldn't keep their hands.
153, Fawless versus Mixed Bout. All parties, please step forward.
Elizabeth Fawless is suing her former friend, Christy Mazenbach, for 2 kayaks and an assault.
Miss Fawless, it is your claim you and the defendant were friends, been friends for a while.
Yes.
Your allegations are twofold. First, you say that the defendant assaulted you after a party.
Yes.
You weren't injured as a result of that assault. You didn't seek medical attention, but you said you had some scratches and that she hit you.
Yes.
Okay.
So she was on top of me. I was scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to...
Elizabeth Fawless claims her former friend, Christy Mazenbach, owes for 2 kayaks and an assault.
There was no medical treatment. There was some drinking that went on that night.
Yes.
But the thrust of your complaint is that you gave the defendant 2 kayaks that you had purchased.
Correct.
Because the defendant has a piece of property and you didn't have a place to store them, and you asked if you could store them at the defendant's home.
Correct.
She said yes. You're no longer friends after this kerfuffle that took place after a party, and you would like the 2 kayaks back.
Correct.
When did you purchase them?
I bought them on April 29, 2020.
From whom?
This lady and her mother were selling them on Facebook Marketplace. They were moving out of state, and her mom couldn't take them with her. So I have the messages of those 2, but I bought them on Facebook.
And how much did you pay?
$320, or $350, sorry.
For both of them or each?
For both of them.
And when did you begin storing them at the defendant's?
I brought them over the next day after I bought them because I live in an upstairs apartment. I had nowhere to keep them. So she has a house that she lives in, so it was a better situation for them.
Where are you living now?
I still live in an upstairs apartment.
Where are you going to put the kayaks?
I was planning on storage or maybe find a family member who has a home to take them to. But to basically probably buy a storage.
That's pretty expensive to keep them in storage. If you paid $350 for the 2 of them 2 years ago. Have you used them in 2 years?
I bought them this year, this April 2022.
Oh, 2022.
Sorry, yeah, 22.
Okay. Have you used them?
Yeah, I use them often with my daughter. She's 5 and autistic.
Have you used them with the defendant?
No.
Have you used the kayaks?
Personally, I have not yet. I haven't had the chance to.
Just a sec, you have not?
I have not yet, no.
Okay, you acknowledge the fact that the plaintiff, who was then your friend, brought them over for you to store. You're not friends anymore. She wants them back. Why not?
So I would like to kind of go back to the beginning where like the assault happens, just so that you can kind of understand.
I'll get to this.
Okay.
The assault is not the important part of this case.
Okay. So the kayaks, originally, it was a deal that if I was to keep them at my house, that we could both use them. When she wanted them back, I just didn't necessarily feel like that was fair because the original agreement was that they were kind of almost both ours. I just didn't have the opportunity to use them yet.
Okay. All right. Well, now you're not friends anymore. Now she wants them back. So she's going to pick up the kayaks within 5 days. If you don't pick them up within 5 days, you're out of luck. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, good. So within 5 days from today's date, we'll prepare an order. You can pick up the kayaks. Now, you want to proceed with the assault part of your case?
Yes.
Okay. Show me pictures of what the injuries were that you sustained.
I don't have any photos. I had a different phone at the time, and...
Just a second, so you don't have any photos. Do you have any medical reports?
I don't.
Okay. This alleged assault happened on what date?
It was August 17th, 2022.
Were you both out that night, or were you having a party in a house?
So what happened was her girlfriend had cheated on her and they broke up, and she invited me and a couple other friends to the home where we were there. My daughter was also there, where we were hanging out, we were talking, trying to have a good time because she was having such a bad time. And I ended up falling asleep at some point. I went to go sleep with my daughter in the room. Everybody had left maybe around 12 a.m. and she came into the room wanting to talk, wanting someone to be there with her. But I was asleep. I'm not a very happy person to be woken up to. So I told her no, like we'll talk in the morning. She wasn't okay with that. She started getting mad, so she started getting upset, and my daughter was next to me, so I was like, well, then I'm gonna leave. And so I tried to walk out. She grabbed me, she threw me to the ground. She's stronger than me, so she was on top of me. I was scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to just get away. My daughter was screaming and crying. She's autistic, so she doesn't really understand what was going on, but she was highly upset. She was screaming no. And I was eventually able to like get up and try to leave. She followed me to the garage. I just tried to push and try to just get away from her, but I don't think she really remembers everything, and it just happened so fast. But I was finally able to leave and get out the home with my daughter safely.
Okay, good. Okay, bad behavior. Bad behavior.
I agree.
Bad behavior? Okay. I wish I had a photograph. Okay, within 5 days, pick up your kayaks. Are we done here?
Can I explain my end or no?
What?
Can I explain my end or no?
You did explain your end. You said you didn't think it was fair when she wanted her kayaks back because we were going to use them together. But now you're not going to use them together because you don't like each other anymore. So you're not going to use them together, so she's going to get them back.
Alrighty.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
There was a lot more to the story than happened, but unfortunately, I guess the best outcome would be just to go ahead and give her back her kayak. So
It shouldn't have gone to this point. I should have got him back after the incident. For adults, it should have went way smoother.
there was a lot more insult that happened, like on both ends. It wasn't necessarily the whole full truth.
I think she's just going through a lot with whatever she's going on with her ex, and just I feel like it just got taken out on me.
Because we were like sisters before, and things just kind of, go south, and unfortunately, we lost her friendship over that. So
We've been friends since middle school, so I don't know what the future holds, but I hope maybe one day we can talk and we can work things out.
Only time will tell.
I think probably the only thing that bothered me in that case was what the 5-year-old was doing out at midnight at a party where people, at a gathering where people were getting...
A breakup party,
A breakup party. Easy case.
Yeah.
Easy.
She paid for him. She gets
gets
back.
Kukuliku. Beep, 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 beep. Ew. Ew. Meow. Meow. Ruff. Ruff. Moo. Moo. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Meow. Meow. Oh. Oh. Oh, oh. Man.